This is the gorge at 7 o'clock in the morning. The view from my bed.
This is a remote river in tropical Australia, a place I call the Hidden River.
Steve first saw it when he and his father, Bob Irwin, were called in to capture and relocate crocodiles several years ago. At the time, Steve recorded some of what they experienced with a home movie camera.
We spent 3 months trapping crocodiles on the Hidden River, and ever since then, I've wanted to make a return visit. That first trip was to remove and relocate problem crocodiles. Some of them were making a nuisance of themselves with local property owners and were eating their livestock. This is my dad, Bob Irwin. I was lucky enough for him to come up and give me a hand to catch Molly. She's a beautiful little crocodile at 8.5 feet and not very agitated at all. She was very quiet at capture. Normally I'm up catching crocodiles on my own, and it's a rare privilege that Dad comes up to give me a hand. But by crikey, he's an expert and very, very helpful. This little girl here, this is Goldie. She'd be the prettiest crocodile I've ever caught. At just on 8 feet, she's an absolute glamour girl. The gold colour coming back from her head through her neck and into her body. She's now back at the park and doing very, very well.
It's got slight tail, western crooked.
This is an aggressive little devil, this one. Very toey indeed. You see, when I put that top jaw rope on, they don't like it. And the thing they hate the most is the blindfold. And on your own, it's extremely difficult and rather dangerous to get that blindfold on your own. You'll have to excuse my rather bad photography, but when you are on your own catching crocodiles, it's a simple case of getting what footage you can, then putting the camera on the ground, in the sandbar, hang it in a tree, jam it on a log. It's very difficult. This is Bluey. He was the biggest one I caught. At over 13 feet, he's an absolute legend. On your own and dealing with a crocodile of this caliber is quite dangerous. To make a mistake could be fatal. I've always wanted to come back, and now I have the chance to show my wife Terry this magnificent part of Australia, and at the same time see if the estuarine crocodile has survived and is still breeding in the Hidden River.
When Steve told me the track was going to be rough, I didn't have any idea just how rough a road could get.
It wasn't this bad when I first came in. Erosion has almost completely destroyed the old track. Even a goat would have trouble getting down here.
It's all gone.
There's absolutely no way we're going to get down here. All I have to do is zip up, round the top, and see if we can get down over the other side.
This is the only way in, and it helps discourage visitors in an area that we're keeping secret for a number of reasons.
First of all, it's private property, where owners have had a tough time with illegal hunters or cattle escaping through gates left open.
It's also a place where some of the wildlife is only just surviving. Too many people would be the last straw.
It's a hazardous route. These edges could easily give way, especially where the erosion has cut crevices in the steep banks.
Eventually, we're going to arrive at a part of the hidden river where we can launch an inflatable dinghy and make a slow search downstream. At least I hope we're going to arrive.
This was probably the most dangerous point of the whole journey. Other parts looked worse, but this is where I almost lost it. The vehicle was only a hair's breadth away from overbalancing and rolling down over the slope.
At times, we had to dig our way out of trouble. And when we were moving, it was a rare spot where we could keep all four wheels on the ground at once.
Nobody in the area had any idea how badly the track had been damaged by the weather. I think the last time anyone used it was when my dad and I used it several years ago. If there's a worse track in Australia, I certainly haven't heard about it.
At last, we're through the worst of it as we catch our first glimpse of the river. From here on, the track is much better, and we head further upstream to where there'll be nobody but us and the wildlife.
This is where we leave the track to continue in a small boat. From this point onwards, we'll see the river change character many times on our journey downstream.
We'll be able to check every different type of river habitat to see how well the estuarine crocodile is surviving in this part of northern Australia.
Silent travel is very important. We'll be paddling downstream without disturbing the wildlife.
And those jagged rocks below the surface can only be seen fully from the air. A propeller on an outboard motor wouldn't last long.
Suey the dog's always helpful. She's always ready for a good adventure. She'll be going with us for the whole trip. Oh, Suey, in the boat. And you get Terry. And you, Terry. You right?
Right.
All right, here we go.
In places, we'll have to force our way along shallow stretches as the river cascades across solid rock. And at times, we'll be able to relax as we paddle through peaceful gorges cut into the land by many centuries of wet season floods.
Just ahead of us is the first set of rapids we'll encounter on the hidden river. They're fairly mild, but Terry's never done this before, and it will be good practice.
At least we're starting off in calm water to give me time to get used to what really is a very small boat.
Well, that was pretty easy, but it's just a taste of what we're going to encounter further downstream.
Had come down to the river's edge, maybe for a drink or because he was stalking something to eat.
Careful. Careful.
Now, this is a snake that's well worth a closer look. And by gee, he's fast. Just try keeping up with one of these fellows when they don't want you to know.
Steve has been handling snakes almost since he learned how to walk. But even for him, the taipan is one tough customer.
Pretty cranky now. The old taipan, feared up in North Queensland. Understandably, extremely quick. Third most toxic venom in the world. A dangerous snake. They get into this cane chasing rats. A lot of rats living in there. They're pretty active through the cane in the summer months. And unfortunately, in the cane-orientated areas, there's a lot of people living in and around the cane. When they burn off, when they clear the cane out, the snakes have got no choice. They start to move, become nomadic, and unfortunately they come into their farming areas. Taipan was regarded as the deadliest snake in the world. It now comes in for toxicity number 3. Third deadliest snake in the world. The unfortunate thing with taipans is they're very quick, they're very smart. Unfortunately, they go into suburbs, in particularly in northern Australia. They've claimed a few lives. They are very deadly. The trick is to try and keep yourself at a safe working distance. What makes the taipan so hard to handle is he comes up his body so quick, really quickly. He's a beautiful specimen, really nice. This is one snake that has earned the respect of people in North Queensland. And this one, at around 8 foot, is a champion specimen and would be the king of his territory and would command respect from any animal in the Australian scrub. We'll just let him continue on his hunt for rodents.
Back on the river, we spot a black-necked stork, or jabiru, Australia's only native stork. It was probably looking for food, maybe a frog, a reptile, or a small mammal. Steve has even seen them eating venomous snakes that are so large they can barely swallow them.
Paddling along these calm reaches of the hidden river is certainly a peaceful way to travel and absorb one of the landscapes of Australia. Gee, that's small. Oh, there's another one.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
They're quick. They were so fast, but they seemed to be headed for a cave. So we're going ashore to see if we can sneak up on their daytime hiding places.
May see those rock wallabies. They run across this stuff as fast as lightning, very agile. But your larger macropods, I'd say this would be a big grey kangaroo. He's tried to come over these rocks to pick off some of this nice green pickings. Dead. They can't make it. The agility of a rock wallaby is incredible. Your large macropods haven't got a hope of living in this stuff. Fall down and die.
This part of the river flows through some pretty dry countryside. If there are crocodiles around here, they'll be in the river because there's not much water around anywhere else.
When the river narrows down a little, there's more of a current and easier paddling. Wherever possible, we'll stick close to the bank, trying to spot more wildlife.
Steve knows there have been crocodiles here. He's seen them in this stretch of the river in the past.
Trying to detect crocodiles is a very difficult task. Their camouflage techniques are brilliant. And these sandbanks are the ideal spot to locate crocodile signs. And here's a classic slide.
And finally, a reward for all these hours of paddling.
What a beauty. It's really easy to forget that there's crocodiles in waters like this, especially when you're not seeing them. If you don't see them, you start to get a little bit lax, a little bit blasé about crocodiles, and end up swimming in areas where you shouldn't be. Here's a classic example, very graphic evidence of a large crocodile right here, living right in this beautiful area. You can see his tail. The tip of his tail starts right down here, curls all the way up and around. Okay, he's sitting in there, that nice position, sunning himself. His body's down through here and his head's sitting here. If he feels startled or he starts to get too hot, just pushes straight off, down through the weed, cuts through that, no problems, and sits in the dark water. You should always be aware of the presence of crocodiles. And this slide is perfect evidence, and certainly not a good place to go swimming.
Now that we know there are big crocodiles still in this river, it makes the idea of going down the rapids much more daunting. If we weren't conscious of the importance of staying in the boat before, we certainly are now. Just after sunrise, the perfect time of day to be out on the river. The cool of the early morning makes the paddling less uncomfortable, and the scenery is a constant delight.
The water here is crystal clear, not the sort of habitat a crocodile normally likes. They prefer to remain hidden wherever possible. If they are here, we'll be able to see them, and for that matter, we'll also be able to spot anything else in the river.
In that clear water, Steve has spotted the slightest movement down near the bottom. After a few minutes of frantic paddling, we're close enough to see that it's not big enough to be a crocodile. So when we're close enough, Steve is straight in after it. It's a pale-headed snapping tortoise, so incredibly different that for Steve, it's an amazing experience. Did you get it? All right!
Woo! Got it!
Look at this!
Look at her!
Oh, she's beautiful!
Oh, isn't she a glamour?
Wow, I can't believe you caught her!
Snapping tortoise, undescribed species of snapping tortoise.
Yeah, look at her white head.
Wow, and a pink nose, a little bit like yours, Terry.
Oh, God, wait a minute.
Woohoo!
While
She
you
a
got her there,
champion.
let me get a couple
Look
pictures.
at you, sweetheart, aren't you gorgeous?
Back up just a little bit.
Have you got slide film in that?
Yep.
Okay, get a shot.
We've got to document this.
My word.
Ready?
Okay, smile, girl.
Got it. We need the photographs to record the find for scientific research. This tortoise is an undescribed species and must be documented, as experts know very little about them. Steve has seen a lot of reptiles over the years, but this is only the second time he's ever seen one of these. The first time was on the same river during his first visit. It could even be the same tortoise.
We're now moving out of that calm section of the river, and there's a hint of things to come as the passage narrows and becomes more shallow across the rocky bottom. Terry's not too keen on this bit. She's not completely comfortable about the idea of going through the rapids in a river where we know it's inhabited by crocodiles.
The chances of damaging our boat are pretty high. There are any number of sharp rocks in the water, and if there's going to be a problem, this is where it will be.
Suey loves the ride, but she hates getting wet. And I'd better make sure she stays in the boat. Crocs love dogs, and if Suey fell overboard, she'd be perfect croc bait.
Thanks a lot, Suey. You're gonna make sure that we're all wet now.
This sea eagle, just past the rapids, is sure starting to stir up those pelicans.
This time, it's Suey's turn to spot something. A Brumby stallion on the bank, keeping a close eye on us.
The Brumby is the wild horse of Australia, and this stallion is in the same place I've seen a herd of 40. And it's his job to prance around and distract us and protect his herd that's hidden in the tree line. He does a wonderful job.
We paddle into a spot where a flock of pelicans has taken over a wide stretch of water upstream from one of several weirs built across the river. The next weir we're coming up to is most treacherous, because from our angle in the boat, we cannot see exactly where it is. So all we can do is listen for it.
That was close. This weir is so slippery. I'm going to have to be very careful walking along here, because if I go over, both Suey and Terry are going to come over with me, and it could be the end of us.
By the time we reach the steps up from the weir, the light is fading so fast that we decide to camp overnight rather than make a 15-meter climb in darkness down a slippery slope. She's okay too. Jeez, that's a long way down.
Today we've left the main river for a side journey up a tributary, and it's almost like we aren't even in the same region.
The bird and plant life is completely different from what we found in the main channel. This looks more like crocodile territory than most of the area we've explored so far.
A duck we found struggling in the water looks like it's been injured. And Terry's years of working in veterinary clinics won't let her pass an injured animal. It wouldn't have had a chance if we'd let nature take its course.
I don't feel any breaks. It's okay now. This is a duck, Suey. He's hurt.
Tell you what, the way he's fluttering around out here in the water, he's definite croc bait.
Yeah, well, something's for sure wrong with his left leg. Puncture wounds or anything like that, but he needs a more thorough examination. His left leg feels broken. So, he's definitely not in good shape. It's okay, his little heart's going 90 miles an hour. So I'll go
Let's
ahead.
stick him in one of these camping bags.
Yeah, let's secure him where he doesn't have to see us or the dog, and then get him back to camp for help.
Okay.
that's so rich in wildlife should be a good hunting ground for crocodiles. So we'll go ashore here to check for nests. But while we're looking, Terry finds something else.
I've just discovered a little something in the dirt here. Appears to be a bit of a shell, so I thought I'd take the chance to examine it. This is obviously a tortoise shell that's probably been washed up after the turtle died. The part that's been exposed has been in the sun, so it's all bone, and the rest still has some tissue on it. If you cut a tortoise's shell, it will actually bleed. There is flesh above the bone. This is called the carapace, and this is the plastron. Now, on the plastron, if it were concave, we would know it was a male. Since the plastron is really smooth, this probably was a female tortoise. It's impossible to guess how old the tortoise was, although it's a large shell, so this could be an animal that was over 50 years old.
Suey's on the lookout. She'd just love to get in amongst that wildlife and stir it all up. It all looks too peaceful for Suey.
The last time Steve came through here, he found it was inhabited by a large female croc. He'd like to check whether she's still nesting in the same spot.
Crocodiles do have the habit of returning year after year to the same nesting sites. They're very territorial. If the nest I found last time is still in use, it's a good sign the crocodile population is doing well in this river.
It's been several years since Steve was last here, so it takes a while to find what we're looking for. A telltale flattening of the vegetation at the edge of the water, a close look will tell us if it is actually a crocodile slide.
Okay,
Right?
look. See how smooth it is?
Yep.
Across there. You can see how wet that is. Wet. Okay.
Oh, thanks. Can I follow it up?
Just let me go first. See, look at that. What a distinct path going straight up through here.
The scary thing about going up a crocodile slide is that you're very likely to find a crocodile at the end of it. We just don't know whether she's at home, out in the water, or maybe even hiding to one side of the path.
These rivers have enormous rises and falls from season to season, and even from day to day during heavy rain. So the female croc sometimes has to go a long way to make sure her nest doesn't wash away in the next heavy downpour and flood.
What have you done?
Have a look at this. This is what we want to see. This is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Look. Look, look, look. Look at this. Baby croc. He's hatched out of here. Judging by these other eggs, they've hatched out. See how this is all torn apart? It's all been dragged back out here. All these fragmented. Look at this. Look. Look at this, Tare. Look.
Jeez,
The babies have hatched out. This is brilliant. This is really, really good.
So as you can see, the babies have hatched out, and as they've started to hatch, while they're crying inside the egg, the mother comes up to the nest and actually helps to dig them out. She scrapes all the nesting material away so they can escape and make their way down to the water. Then they're on their own, but the mother does help guard their babies just a little bit.
This is nature at its best. If you can imagine, in this day and age, it's very, very difficult for a female saltwater croc to get a nest to hatch out here in North Queensland. Very difficult. You've got pigs, all sorts of predators, flood conditions, and here it is, proof that they've hatched out. This is beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
There's still a long way to go down the river, and the most dangerous stretch of water is still to come.
The rapids up ahead are a dangerous part of our journey. Just too dangerous for Terry and Suey, who haven't done much whitewater rafting.
Hey.
tell you what, if that last set of rapids is anything to go by, best thing you to do is take Suey around there and I'll go down on my own. Oh, you taking off? Thank you.
Even for Steve, it's not going to be easy. He hasn't been down this section of river before, and the boat is really too small for whitewater rafting on rapids like the ones he's about to face.
It would seem to make more sense to carry the boat around and put it in further downstream. But the path Terry and Suey have to take is too narrow for a boat. There's no choice.
There's a lot to worry about. Some of those rocks are sharp, and the currents around the rapids can throw up some very unpredictable dangers. People have died in water like this, knocked unconscious, held under with a limb trapped between boulders, or being sucked down and held by hidden undercurrents.
Wow. That was like being thrown in a washing machine while being belted by huge, great rocks.
Thank God he made it through alive. A swim back to the boat and everything's okay. Steve is bruised black and blue, but he's all in one piece. And luckily, so is the boat. We're all glad that's over.
Just downstream from the rapids and back in the calm water, Terry's found an interesting local resident out for a swim.
Here, little guy.
This little guy here is a freshwater snake. Now, freshwater snakes obviously live by water, hence the name, and they're often mistaken for rough-scaled snakes or even called swamp tigers, when in fact they're no relation to the tiger family, and they're not even venomous. In fact, these special little snakes have adapted to be able to eat cane toads, and they're the only snake that we know of that can do that. This one's a baby. They reach about 1 meter in length when they're full grown. And I'll let him go back to his job of ridding this place of cane toads right now.
These calmer waters are also home to a very interesting little creature, water spiders. And these water spiders are a classic example of how animals have evolved to fit into the environment. Now, they're capable of diving in under the water, and once submerged, air sticks to the hair on their abdomen and legs, which makes them able to breathe under the water.
This one's having some trouble with its balance because that air that it's taken down with it has also made it quite buoyant. So far, we've seen all the signs that crocodiles are surviving here, but as yet, we haven't laid eyes on one.
We're not far from the crocodile nest that we found upstream, so we decide to try a few hours of night spotting.
I'm tired.
Okay, let's camp it here. Would you like to camp here, Suey?
She's tired, too.
That's a good girl.
You got it?
Yo.
Thanks.
Okay. I'll drag it up. What? Don't worry, I'll drag it up to you.
As darkness sets in, we set out to explore likely spots on the river to watch for crocodiles.
This is where we'll exploit one of the few weaknesses of the estuarine crocodile. By day, they're very wary. They spot you or hear you coming and disappear so fast you won't get to see them. But at night, all their instincts and experience tells them that no one can see them. They seem to think that they're invisible.
Even when they're spotlighted, it doesn't sink in that we can see them. As far as they're concerned, nighttime means darkness, and that's that.
This is one of those times when it's best to leave Suey behind. We don't want her getting excited and jumping into the water when we can't clearly see what's going on.
Steve spotted a crocodile's eye shine from a long way off. And sure enough, there's a tiny croc sitting quietly at the water's edge.
The spotlight's done its trick. The baby croc keeps still long enough for us to get pretty close.
The crocodile's natural caution has finally taken over, and the croc's making a run for it. But by now, we're near enough to keep a close eye on where it's going, and we can easily keep track of it.
Well, this little bloke here is very, very healthy. You can see he's got a good big fat tail, and he's up in the shallows here hunting. He's got his eye shields working, and this is how they should be. Good, sturdy swimmers, a very strong hatchling, this one. More than likely, this one's gonna survive. Perfect. Let's go, Tam. Let's leave him to himself.
Well, now we know for certain that the estuarine crocodile is not only surviving, but it's breeding successfully in the hidden river. Encouraged by our spotlighting success the night before, we're going to try another search in daylight. We're hoping that the one we saw last night wasn't the only survivor from that nest of hatched eggs we saw upstream.
We've decided to concentrate our search on this nice, calm stretch of water. And it was Suey who was the first to spot the slight movement on an almost glassy surface. Thanks to her, we knew exactly where to head the boat. There's one right there.
It seemed strange at first that it was so easy to move up on this baby croc when we had such a chase the night before. This little one seems lethargic, even in daylight when crocodiles are at their most cautious.
We're going to try snorkeling and moving very quietly through the water to see how close we can get. And that turns out to be very close.
There's certainly a sense of exhilaration, sharing the water with a crocodile in the wild. We're just so close, it's almost unthinkable.
Very few hatchling crocodiles survive even as long as this one. The mother croc builds a nest and lays around 60 eggs. She'll guard that nest with her life, constantly defending it. Her maternal instincts are very strong, and she'll do anything to save her babies.
Gosh, she's beautiful. This must be one of the little ones we saw the nest of, one of the ones that hatched out.
Yeah, he's
We're
precious.
so lucky to get this close to him.
You know, Terry, this is a very special moment. I'm really glad that I can enjoy this with you, but the harsh reality of getting this close to a baby crocodile is he's probably a little bit sick. If you can imagine, 1 in 200 babies will reach maturity. They've got an extremely high mortality rate, and this guy's chances of survival are very minimal. To him, we should be a predator, and we shouldn't be able to get this close.
So he hasn't had much luck getting something to eat.
No, you can see he's a little bit skinny, but even still, this is just so special.
The hidden river has proved to be a magic place, and we've seen for ourselves that crocodiles are surviving here. But there's not many of them, and even those few have a shaky hold on life.
it's just as well that the hidden river remains inaccessible, because our fragile wildlife and natural beauty deserves every chance that it can get.
She's a stranger in a small town. She changed her name, her looks, and her life, all to escape the most dangerous man she's ever met, her husband. Julia Roberts is sleeping with the enemy in tonight's premiere movie. Here's where you get the inside details on the week's big stories. 60 Minutes next on 2.
You know the eggs are hatched out.
Yeah, well,
Should be pretty safe.
this is your job.
More your side, more your side.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you and Suey wait here then.
All right.
Yep. I won't bother tying you up, just hang on to the reeds.
Yeah, I'll stay here.
Yeah, this is the slide, all right. Paddle, mate, paddle!
What?
Bloody crocodile!